Let's take a deep breath from Money Power Politics tonight. And the war in Iran, it obviously remains front and center. Gas prices continue to climb, hitting an average near $3.20. That's up from $3 a week ago. Meanwhile, the markets, they're not scared of this war. Both the Dow and S&P climbed higher today, while oil prices pulled back after nearly topping $78 a barrel earlier this week. And that might be due in part to a lot of very big promises the Trump administration is making to big oil. I want to explain this. Yesterday, the president offered insurance and military escorts, quote, as soon as possible, to energy tankers that are trying to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, that critical trade choke point on the southern border of Iran. But according to the shipping journal Lloyd's List, as recently as Monday, U.S. Navy officials were telling the shipping industry reps there was, quote, no chance of escorts happening anytime soon. David Gora joins us now. He's the host of Bloomberg This Weekend. It's a brand new show. You do not want to miss it. And the Big Take podcast. And Philip Bump is here, MS Now columnist and contributor. Can we start with what we saw in the markets today? Okay, investors are betting that this war is going to end very soon, even though the administration has explicitly said, even today, we're just getting started.
You had David Solomon, the head of Goldman Sachs, saying he's surprised at how muted the market reaction has been here. I am surprised by how cheered investors seem to be by the specter of there being something from the administration in the coming days. So Scott Bessent came on television this morning and said, look, there's help is coming. Help is coming for oil prices in the coming days. Very vague, but it was something, and markets seem to seize on that. So it kind of encapsulates what you were talking about in the last segment. That is, there's a plasticity to this whole process or project that's happening right now.
Okay, but is that about fundamentals, or is it about Trump always chickens out? That at this point, the markets know the one guardrail the president responds to is if the markets drop, he scrambles in and does something to recover it. Is that why they just keep on trucking here?
I wonder about the taco-ness of this moment as it drags on, because I think, as we've been hearing, this is metastasizing pretty quickly. We've seen the geography get bigger and bigger. We're seeing more and more concern about what this means, yes, for markets and the economy, but the region as a whole. It does feel like something different. And while I think there is some complacency in the markets right now, yes, a little bit of volatility, I do wonder how long that's going to last in light of how big this seems to be growing.
Let's talk about these shipping companies. So the president has now said, no, it'll be fine. We're going to have escorts through the Strait of Hormuz. But apparently, two big ship owners with tankers that are stuck in the Gulf told that shipping journal that escorts are not going to give them the confidence while combat operations are still going on. Is it even possible that the U.S. is going to do this, physically have these escorts? I mean, economically, it would be hugely expensive to provide this insurance. Is this just talk from the president?
I mean, look, I think assuming that it's mostly talk from the president is the baseline that we should be operating under most of the time. I think in this case, one of the things I've been sort of struck by is there's this weird parallel. We've seen Iran using these low-cost drones to sort of get around America's expensive, missile defense systems. For years, the fear was that Iran would be able to use little speedboats to try and attack our ships, and our Navy wasn't prepared for Iran. And so we know that Iran has this capability to strike. The shipping companies certainly know that they are putting assets at risk, even if they are escorted by some sort of naval cruiser, whatever it happens to be. They're putting assets at risk as they're in that vicinity and as they try and travel through the Strait of Hormuz. And, my guess is that most companies will probably make that same bet, that, regardless of who they're being accompanied by, there still is this risk that has been the fear with a conflict with Iran for decades.
Meanwhile, according to the Trade Monitor, they estimate that the Strait of Hormuz has seen roughly a 90% drop in oil tanker traffic this week. How long can we withstand that before there's global impact on the economy?
I think it's going to happen pretty fast. So you look at gas prices. Yes, they've gone up. They haven't gone up very dramatically, I think, because there's a lag there. And that's the case with both gas and with oil, natural gas as well. So they can withstand it for a while. I just want to go back to this insurance point, because that's crucial here, too. So you have the administration promising that this kind of backwater government agency is going to provide this kind of insurance that it hasn't done before. I think a lot of these shipping companies, quite rightly, are skeptical of what that means.
They don't want to put their people out.
Correct. And how quickly can this happen, and how comprehensive is that insurance going to be? So I think there's a wariness surrounding, again, the kind of inchoate policy surround that's been introduced by the administration.
Yeah, I mean, if you lose a tanker and you get the insurance money back, you can't just go out and buy a new tanker tomorrow, right?
And how about the cost of lives? All right, we now have a war churning in the Middle East. Back at home, Americans are facing, or the country's facing, a ballooning deficit, these nonstop tariffs. Healthcare is more expensive. Social programs are getting cut. Affordability, the president can call it old-fashioned all he wants. It is the biggest issue for voters. What do you think this is going to mean for the midterms?
I think it's brutal. I think it's, again, it all depends on how long this lasts. One of the questions about Trump tacoing in this case is like, the die's been cast, right? We already are in the midst of this conflict. It's going to be hard for him to back out. But, we saw him at the State of the Union address, what was it, 2 weeks ago now, saying, A, one of the wars I solved was Israel against Iran, like, oh, well. And B, look at how I've driven gas prices down. That was his main case on affordability, was look at what I've done to keep gas prices low.
But even that, he was arguing that gas prices were $1 a gallon, which they never were anywhere
he was lying about it. Yes, that's true. That's true. He was inventing lower gas prices. But, the main cases that he was making in the State of the Union address, particularly around affordability, he is now undercut. And, I think Republicans are probably aware that this is a big, big, big problem for them in November, even if Trump isn't.
I just want to jump in to say, I think we focus on what it'll mean if, gas is more expensive. Yes, that's a bummer for people who commute and have to travel, but this is going to spread through the economy more widely than that at a moment when you have Fed policymakers trying to figure out what they need to do to get this economy in check. And now we have these kind of inflationary forces that are being brought about as a result of what's happening in the Middle East.
Okay, and in case you missed this, at the same time, Senators Ted Cruz and Tim Scott are now asking the Treasury to approve a $200 billion tax cut and do it without getting congressional approval. And the way they want to do this is cutting capital gains taxes. Okay, they claim it's going to boost savings, spur investment, and create jobs. I got to say on this one, are you kidding me? The one group of people that continue to thrive are investors, right? If you are long the market, if you own assets, this has been glorious. And so now they're saying, yikes, things look tough. Let's cut capital gains tax.
Right. These are taxes on assets that you would sell, investments among them, real estate another. We're talking about this benefiting a pool of people who are not your everyday Americans. This would benefit the wealthier more than most everybody else. It's a curious thing and perhaps an illegal thing that these senators are proposing in that letter to the Treasury Secretary.
And at a time when we discover that the war in Iran is costing $1 billion a day.
Yes.
We're going to cut $200 billion out of the budget. Sure.
When is that going to start hitting here, just the cost of this war?
That's a good question, right? One of the things I think is funny is that, well, not funny, but is that the administration recently was like, well, let's add another $500 billion to the Defense Department budget, right? They decided that's something they wanted to do, invest this much more money in the military. Apparently, this is how it's going to manifest.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Good to see you.
But for you, before we go to break, there's just one more story I want to share. It's about Coinbase, and it has us asking the question, again, is this White House for sale? You might not know Coinbase. You might not be a big crypto investor, but Coinbase is the largest crypto exchange in the country. And this story matters. They have donated big time to Trump's inaugural fund. They've donated to the East Wing Ballroom. And right now, they are in the middle of a major lobbying fight with big banks over a bill that would establish new rules governing how crypto is overseen by regulators. And guess what? They don't want to be overseen at all. Well, on Tuesday, Coinbase's CEO, Brian Armstrong, visited the White House and he met with the president personally. We do not know specifically what they discussed. But just one day later, the president bashed the banks on social media, saying they, quote, need to make a good deal with the crypto industry because that's what is in the best interest of the American people. And I thought it was worth noting that, of course, the Trump family fortune has grown to nearly $7 billion in the last year. That's according to Bloomberg. And digital assets like crypto make up about 1/5 of it. All of which has us asking, again, is this White House for sale?